What a game! What a game! What a game! You know what's annoyed me about the last 2 days? Is not particularly interested in a try that shouldn't have been, a try that should have been, a kick that shouldn't have been taken, a kick that should have been taken. This was an incredible test match between the two greatest rugby nations. It went down to the wire, 31-27. Respect, reverence was the piece that I wrote straight after the game. Celebrated, 7-try thriller, not in Manila, but it could have been in Johannesburg. And Cape Town, wow, you got some big boots to fill this weekend.
Yes, they do. It's going to be one hell of a rematch at Cape Town Stadium. I'm not really a big fan of WWE, and I felt like that test match played out like a WWE title fight. It was a lot of unnecessary punches received and a lot of unnecessary punches thrown. I thought the Boks were extremely good to come back, but I mean, you can never be dissatisfied with a win against the All Blacks. Don't get me wrong. I'm very happy that that happened, but there was absolutely no need for the Boks to be in that position, and the fact that they were irritates me a little bit.
Look, I don't think enough people are giving the All Blacks credit for how they started that test match. I thought they were outstanding in that first 20 minutes against lesser opposition. They would have been 15 to 20 points up, and we'd be talking about, are the boys in black back with a 54-15 win? I thought it was a testament to the physicality, the mental fortitude of these All Blacks, that they came out and they played the way they did, and their preparation. But equally, it was a testament to why the Springboks are back-to-back world champions, why they won the Lions series, and why they win test matches in the big moments.
100%.
More so than not in the last 3 to 4 years.
100%. I didn't even read the player ratings, and I refuse to accept that any player for the Springboks got less than a 7.
I gave a few 6.
No. All 7s up. For me, the players won that test match. They won it in spite of Rassie. Their ability to dig deep and pull it together and turn that thing around, they deserve a standing ovation for what they did.
How can you say they won it in spite of Rassie?
Very irritated with the way the Boks played in the first half. Tony Ball doesn't come cheap. This obsession with us having to expand our game and play this sexy, beautiful rugby takes the best out of our players, makes us look mediocre, brought us down to the level of one of not the best All Blacks teams ever. And when we reverted to Bok rugby and we went pick and drive and one pass, and we gave our forwards the opportunity to just mash and bash. Then we were straight back in the game. We overhauled a 10-point deficit to beat the All Blacks.
Okay, well, we'll get to the 10-point deficit a bit later, because 10 points is basically one score in the modern game. Yes. So, the All Blacks were outstanding in that first 15, 20 minutes. They had all the possession. Okay? So, all we did was defend, defend, defend. So I'm reading all this. We were diabolical in the first 40 minutes. We were poor. Maybe you're only as good as the opposition allows you to be. I kind of got that feeling reading everyone's comments was, look at that little guy being strangled by the big guy. He doesn't want to live. Maybe he can't live because the big guy's a little bit too strong. I don't think enough credit's been given to the All Blacks for the way they started that test and for their effort in the first 60 minutes. And equally in New Zealand, when I listen to things like The Breakdown and various other analysts, not enough credit's been given to how we always felt the test would play out. It was going to be 65 minutes. It was going to be nothing in it. And then that Bok bomb squad, the forward replacements, were going to kind of take it up to another level, and the Boks would take it by a score or 2. And it played out exactly the same way. Sachet gets the last minute kick, 2 minutes to go, 34-27. You say, on balance, fair reflection. You go back to their opening try, should never have been a try, double banking. You go to our try, some would say it should have been a try, some would say it shouldn't have been a try. So let's cancel those 2 tries out.
Yep. So
we take away 5 points for the Boks, we take away 7 points for the All Blacks. You still got pretty much the same result, okay? And the result that it would have been 7 points. So on balance, the Boks were 7 points better. They deserved the test match. I just thought it was a fantastic spectacle for the 62,000 that were there, for the millions that watched on telly. And it was the kind of match that lived up to the billing. We've been waiting for the best part of a year for the World Cup finalists of 2023 to meet at Ellis Park, the cathedral, our spiritual home in South Africa. And the test match did not disappoint. It wasn't a blowout. It wasn't a 16-12 kind of kick fest. Both teams wanted to play. Both teams showed us their best in terms of attack from the All Blacks, especially in that first hour, and then our defense, and then also the simplicity but brutality of our Springbok game is when that power bench came on, when we started playing a bit tighter, playing a bit more direct, and then we mold them till they had to concede. Yellow card came in, dynamic of the game changed. So I just think riveting test match. Glad the Boks won, because that Boks team should not be losing to that All Black team at home regardless of the occasion. But huge improvements from the All Blacks. But with the current cattle, they had 65 minutes in it. The key for us was that we had to just be within touching distance or kind of one score in it on 65 minutes. Everyone's talking about the Bongi try. Was it a try? Wasn't a try in New Zealand? What they should be talking about was on 63 minutes at 27-17, the All Blacks get a penalty and they don't kick 3 points. 30 points takes them into that 31-30 traditional score average. It's a lot harder to chase at 30-17. That's 2 converted tries. Then it's 27-17. Within 4 minutes, they had a yellow card and we had scored a converted try.
No, mate. No. Because the All Blacks, like me, know that this Boks team is 15 to 20 points better than them when they play Boks rugby. And they thought, you know what? We actually just need to try and run this clock down. Let's keep the ball down here. Let's lie on this ball. Let's stay on the ball here where the Boks are a long way from our try line, because these Boks have suddenly remembered that they're Springboks and they play Springbok rugby. And if we kick these 3 points and they get the ball back, we're going to be defending for 6 phases before Peter Steph Toy goes over the try line. So I think that figured into their thinking. What's unfortunate is that it took the Boks 45 minutes to remember that they're Springboks. So I'm glad they did. To your point about it being entertainment and a thrilling test match, that kind of talks to what I was saying about WWE. Because if Andre the Giant just had to grab Goldmember by the scruff of his neck and plutz him in the face, the fight would be finished in 5 minutes. So there's a bit of choreography that goes into to tell a story that the fans enjoy. And that's what happened on Saturday with the Boks. We played Tony Ball to make it an entertaining event, and then we switched on the Boks thrusters and destroyed them.
But we hardly played Tony Ball because for large periods we hardly had the ball. So to me, we were inaccurate at times. We were very disjointed in the second half in terms of the replacements. I'm glad they kept Sasha at 10, Fussy at fullback.
Definitely, that was a great call.
And let them play out the game. Apollo came on at 12. Jesse moved to the win. Grant Williams got an opportunity. So I just think, I looked at the ratings written by the South African journalists.
What did they give them?
No, and written by the New Zealand journalists. Now, the ratings were completely skewed depending on which country's journalist was writing it, okay? So the only consistent was, and this is where we said the game was always going to be determined, was on average, both starting 15s got a 7, okay, for the game. On average, the Boks bench got a 7 and the Kiwi bench got a 2 and 3.
Yo.
And that is where the fundamental differentiator came, is Sam Derry got a 2. Eben Esabet got an 8. So we were bringing Eben off the bench, they were bringing Sam Derry off the bench. I mean, that just says it all.
Yeah, look, I'm not disagreeing with that point of the difference in quality in the bench, but the key change there was in the tactics. The reason he flooded those, the reason Ben Jason got yanked was because he was offloading and it wasn't going to hand. He paid the price for Tony Ball in the first half. If we'd played the way we played in the second half, we beat those All Blacks by 15 to 20 points. I've got no doubt in my mind.
You know, we've beaten them twice in our history, okay, professional game, by more than 15 points. It was in Nelspruit.
Would have been 3.
We were in Nelspruit and obviously at Twickenham. So this people just banding out 20 points. You know, one of our mates sent me a message straight afterwards. We were terrible in the first 40 minutes, Jeremy, and we won by 20 points. And I just said, calm the fuck down and actually enjoy the experience and enjoy the occasion. This is the All Blacks. I'm reminded, and I think I've said this before, in 2000, the Boks lost to Australia 44-23 at the Colonial Stadium in Melbourne. We went over. We had a week off. We went and played the All Blacks. We lost 25-12 in Christchurch. Christian Cullen scored 2 tries on the win. We came back and we played at Homebush in front of like 70 or 90,000 people against Australia, and they won 26-6. And that was the world champion Australian side. Nick Mallett was coaching a half-decent Boks side, but not quite as special as the 98 one. And Rod McQueen was coaching. And the Aussie journos just climbed into McQueen. What a turgid performance, inaccurate, this and that. And he just grabbed the mic and he said, boys, basically said, calm the fuck down. Okay? He said, we have just beaten the Springboks by 20 points.
Yeah.
Twice in 3 weeks. This wasn't Romania out there. So let's also give context to this was the All Blacks who gave it everything. That haka was emotional. It was paying tribute to one of the Maori kings that had passed away. The players were up for it. They couldn't have given more in that first 65 minutes as the starting team. They played bloody well, and they were competitive. We just had too much cattle in the last 15 to beat them. What we did differently here to the Durban test against Ireland, we closed out the game the way we should have, and we didn't keep them in the game. But I'm telling you now, psychologically, Zels, 30-17 is a lot harder to chase than 27-17. Because you just realize I've got to actually score
you're 100%
two converted
You don't
tries.
have to convince me of that. I'm always the take the points guy, so I get it.
And this belief that kick to the corner, and again, kick to the corner when they started to integrate those substitutes, which they're not test pedigree at the moment. They may come in time, but they're not. And it wasn't like Aaron Smith, Brodie Retallick, Richie Mo'unga was coming off the bench. And you go, oh my goodness, look what they got for the last 20 minutes. And if you go back to that 2011 to 2015 All Black side, and the one that won the 2015 World Cup, in 2011 you had and you had a Bowden Barrett coming off the bench. 2015 you had a Sonny Bill Williams coming off the bench, Kerbalo coming off the bench, Victor Vito coming off the bench, Sam Cane coming off the bench. I mean, you just think teams would be with the All Blacks on the hour, and then they would just break open the game and win. And everyone said it was their conditioning. But it was the class of player that was coming onto the field. And watching the breakdown last night, I was very disappointed that John Kerwin was in Italy having his glasses fixed. Okay?
They chased him away, mate.
They chased him away. But I could also understand why he has this very skewed look of South Africa. So hopefully he comes back with a good pair of goggles and he can kind of see the game for what it is. But I was just surprised at how they whinged about a Bongi try that happened in the 16th minute of a test match. No reference made to a McKenzie who took more than 10 seconds to kick a conversion. No reference made to the double banking. Absolutely no reference made to Sam Cane's hit on Siya Kolisi. That was a very similar hit to the one that got him a red card in the World Cup. No reference made to that. No reference made to quite a few other things. So I thought the match officiating was indifferent for the best part, didn't favour any one team. The 14 penalties to 5 was not down to interpretation. They were just getting beaten at the breakdown. We were stronger over the ball. So I just felt that they would make more of the test matches an occasion, but also the only guy there was Mills, who said, come on, we're focusing on the first 65 minutes of the All Blacks. Let's focus on the last 50 minutes of the back-to-back world champions. There's a reason they're the world champions. There's a reason they win big test matches. They play the big points better. And he said, they did it with a 10 who was in his 7th test. They did it with a 15 who was in his 7th test. They did it with a replacement 8 who was in his 5th test. They did it with a lock who was in his 3rd test. I mean, they did it with a centre playing win, with a flyer playing centre. When you look at that composition that finished that test match for the Boks, it was a hell of a win for the Boks in the context of bringing through those kids and beating the old foe.
A+ grade for the players for finding a way to win that game. And a lot of that confidence will come from the success of having played under the brightest lights and having won. Those are world champions. That's how world champions respond. So, like I say, standing ovation to the players for me. I just don't think the Boks should ever have been in that position. You mentioned Sasha and you mentioned Fussy. Those are two guys, especially Sasha. Sasha has the real potential to emerge as easily the best Bok fly-off of the modern era. He has a career in front of him that looks like it's going to go that way. And so to put him in a situation where the structure is loose and sort of subjective and not it's option A or option B, for me is an unnecessary risk. And look, at the end of the day, these Boks are going to go to the next World Cup and the proof will be in the pudding. And we may look back from that and go, Rassie was a genius because he rolled the dice on this stuff. He put these guys in difficult situations with tactics that weren't necessarily the most efficient. And out of that, he got this answer, and this answer. But I can only live in the here and now, where I am right now, to put us in a position where we potentially lost a test match against the All Blacks, given the rich history of this rivalry, for the sake of playing expansive rugby and jeopardizing, because it doesn't take much to turn the public against a player, putting a kid in a situation where he's making reads on the fly with limited structure around him, I think is an unnecessary risk. But then I'm not the Springbok coach.
But is that not what he wanted to see? Let's put him in a position, take him out of his comfort zone and see what he does. And he came out with flying colours.
If he'd done this with Handre and Villiers, I would totally be on board. If you want to try play an expansive game and you do it with your most experienced players who have the tools to dig themselves out of it, I think the risk is low because Handre is already a 2-time World Cup winner.
But there is no risk here. Because if they lost it, they have Cape Town the next week. So when you're talking about risk, I would understand if it's a World Cup final and it's a one-off. You don't get it back ever. But there was absolutely no risk to him.
No,
there.
when I say risk, not so much about the results. I'm talking about the players that are in there. When the public turns against the person,
but then the coaches also got a faith and understanding in the players. We're not in the inner circle there. We're not training with them every day. He would never have put him in a position he didn't feel he was capable of actually dealing with it. And the thing, if you take Sasha, I mean, he put the one out on the full, the last penalty that everyone said he should have kicked, he missed. But Rassie's thing was, I want you to make mistakes. I want you to be in that position where they can still go back and say, 31-27, you should have closed the game out. You didn't. They could have come back and scored a try and we lose a test. We shouldn't have. Rassie, you could have said, you made that great break when you put through the grubber. You should be looking on your inside. There is a pass. So as well as they both played, they also made mistakes, but they were making mistakes because they were trying things and they were given a license to try things. And that to me was the most encouraging thing. Ulrich Loh came on and wow, it's the most explosive performance I've seen from him in intelligence. He was stepping from the kickoff, kind of beating a tackler, then taking it up. It was like he reveled in this role of impact player and not being the guy, the go-to guy at 8. I think Ben Jason Dixon, which was just unfortunate in the sense that the way that first half played out, all he was doing was tackling. And again there, credit to the All Blacks, it was a turnover from Ben Jason to Jasper, who wasn't expecting the offload. But then the way the All Blacks beat our rush defense, Mackenzie and I think Lomax, the way they just held the pass for that split second and then offloaded, Jesse came through, Cheslin came through. There was a huge lesson in us for that as well, is that it can be unlocked with some very clever interplay, some very clever decision-making in the pass. So to me, credit there to the way the All Blacks counted and how they scored. If we had scored a try like that, we wouldn't be talking about the guy who lost it for New Zealand. So I just want some perspective here, mate.
Yeah, so all I'm
Come
saying,
on, mate, I want some perspective.
All I'm saying, matey, all I'm saying is at some point in the history of mankind, we're going to turn around and say, Rassie is old, he's over it, he's not the cutting-edge coach. We've done it with every coach. Eddie Jones was the greatest in the world, now he's a laughing stock. So everyone is on that spectrum. And at some point in there, those guys peak, and then there's a moment where they start to go off the track. And I'm not saying that's the case with Rassie for 1 second. I'm just saying that is the spectrum. And when you start playing with tactics, that a guy, he used to laugh at people who played this kind of rugby. So I'm not saying anything that Rassie doesn't already know. The fact is, we rolled those dice. You're putting guys in a difficult position there. And I'll say this, the players trust Rassie. And when he puts them in a position and the public reacts negatively to that eventually, because the mistakes will come, that trust factor is going to be at jeopardy again. So all of this, all I'm saying is I want the Boks to win the next World Cup. That's all I want. I don't care how they play, they must win it. So my mind is on what is the shortest route to that cup again. And I don't see the logic in this. And I've said it before we played Ireland, we're going to be on a roller coaster where they have a great performance, then they have a performance you scratch your head at. One guy looks terrible one week, he looks great the next week. I'm saying, is that instability necessary?
But it's not instability, because you've just said all that matters is the World Cup, okay?
Yes.
2027 in Australia. You say now he's taking risks. He shouldn't. He can only take risks over the next 3 years. And in his mind, he's not taking risks because if a player doesn't come through, it's not a risk. He basically cancels him 2 years before he should. If he's kind of playing in terms of a structured way, and now he gets into a test match, they lose a player early in the World Cup semi-final, Sasha's got to play a different game and the guy falls apart. He's never been exposed to that. So I'm all for what he did there. The fact that he's picked Sasha throughout. He's given him the comfort of Andre on the bench, Andre next to him. The fact that he backed Rassie ahead of Willie Leroux against the All Blacks and then let Rassie fly, and he came through it wonderfully. And he kept him on for the 80 minutes, because if he was panicking when Kirkley went down, the obvious thing was Andre to fly off, what's his name to fullback, Sasha, and Rassie to the wing. But he said, I want this 15 and 10 to play through the 80 minutes and not to necessarily be on a side that wins 35-10. But to be it when it comes down to one score with 5 minutes to go and how do they control it. And Sasha controlled it brilliantly. Rassie was very good in those big pressure moments. And the guys who came off the bench were just outstanding. So when I look at an All Black Springbok test always, it's like two big, strong heavyweights. Everyone builds the hype up and then they go, look at those guys. They just basically hanging on each other for the first 5 rounds. One's waiting for the knockup blow. Very poor on the eye. This guy doesn't look as flashy anymore. Because 120 kilograms against 120 is an equal. One negates the other.
Yes.
So The Boks were under extreme pressure for 30 minutes in that first half, and that's the credit to the All Blacks. The All Blacks were under extreme pressure for the last 20 minutes of the second half, credit to the Springboks. What defines this Boks team is they withstood that pressure from the All Blacks. They could easily have been. 100%. 2022, they were 15-0 down.
100%.
Now it was 7-5.
100%.
In a game that could have been 0-0 at that stage after 15 minutes.
I'm just saying, we mustn't cheer the Boks for showing more resilience, for acting like world champions against New Zealand. We should expect that from the Boks now. They are two-time world champions, and there were changes to their team, and they did show great resilience there. And I think the players do deserve massive credit for that. I'm just saying, to paper over some of the coaching idiosyncrasies that went into this test on the basis that we got the right result and we tried a few things, for me, that's shaky ground, because I feel like the Boks are starting to miss having Jacques Nienaber around. I feel like that Boks press maybe lacked a bit of the same sort of blitz intensity that they had when Jacques was there, which is maybe why it was unlocked. So I'm just saying, to sort of stay on the cheerleading bandwagon for a Boks victory and not look at potentially where this team is going is, I don't know. I don't know if that's the wisest move.
Well, look, let's go back to them thumping Australia twice with two different teams.
Yes.
And then beating the All Blacks. Okay.
Glorious results.
So it's not being on a cheerleading bandwagon. It's applauding and cheering 3 great wins in the context of the Rugby Championship.
Yes.
14 points from 3 matches. They won a big one at home where they're the favourites. And they won it. And they won it convincingly in the end, because in the last 5 minutes, it was only going to be one winner.
Mm-hmm.
It was going to take something freaky like 2 intercept passes
Totally.
for New Zealand to come back into it. So I don't think it's a case of anyone papering over the cracks. So right in the beginning, I said to you, and Mills made that point, when you break it all down, there was no Willie LaRue at fullback.
Yes.
There was no Andre Pollard at 10.
But
There
I
was
told
no
you
Dwayne
this.
Vermeulen.
I told you this last week when
Mate.
you said, why are you so nervous, mate? I said, because we've got a new bloke at the back. We've got a new bloke
But now
at the
you're
back.
so bloody negative.
But now you're so bloody positive, mate.
I'm positive because we beat an All Black side that I felt played the best rugby they've played.
No, they did.
this
They
year.
played the best rugby they could play.
And they did it for 65 minutes. They just didn't have the puff in those starting 15 players to go through to 80 minutes, okay? I found that credit to their coaching staff, they worked us out in certain things. They were beating us. They were beating our blitz defense. Absolute agreement. I mean, there's only one Jacques Nienaber, okay? And when Tony Brown came in, something had to give. You can't have a Tony Brown
100%.
playing Japanese-style attack and the Boks still playing Jacques Nienaber defense.
100%, yes.
So, what Rassie's done is evolving the game, but he can always get back that blitz defense when Jacques comes back. Just before the next World Cup, okay?
I'm glad I finally got you to say it.
No, we know he'll be there or thereabouts. But again, we were losing matches to Wales, being the build-up to the last World Cup. Rassie throwing kids to the Wolves and veterans to the Wolves, and not okay. We win by a point, as he said in that press conference, or when they clip to the players, we lose by a point. It sucks, but we move on. Okay, it doesn't change the performance. If we had taken the World Cup 23 all fit, with the exception of Dwayne, who's retired, and we had gone out and beaten this All Black side 31-27, we would have claimed a great test win because of the familiarity of that side. For me, that they could basically, in adversity, come through the way they did.
It was amazing.
With those kids.
100%.
It is a monumental.
That's why I
Bok
applaud the
win.
players. It was fantastic.
But I don't think you can just applaud the players, because those guys in the Boks, especially our mate Rasta, is giving them the license to do that, okay? And the comfort to do that. I mean, Sasha was playing with the swagger of a Carter. Guys played 100 tests. If he was shitting himself because the coach was going to pull him or ask him to play to a certain style, he wouldn't have played like that. Fassi was willing to go when it was on because he had been told you can. And the consequence is, if we don't win this test, we learn a lot more about the players. So it's kind of like, that's what I took out of the test that was fantastic. Ulrich Lowe, I mean, see him play with that freedom. Ron Nokia, wow. I mean, I never thought he was a Springbok. And the performance he put in. And then also just the thinking, and this is why I disagree with you on the coaches and the players, is Ben Jason Dixon wasn't pulled because he was having a shocker. It was because they saw that Eben could actually last the pace. And all of a sudden was, what's his name? Peter Stepp can go back to flank. Eben can do the role with Nokia, and we actually then have a proper 5 lock, 4 lock, and a proper 7 flank. So a lot of people, Ben Jason was having a shock. He wasn't having a shocker. They just remember an offload that he shouldn't have made. You know, Jasper Visser again, the fact that they put that confidence in him that he could gallop for as long as he did and take them on. I just felt
Jasper was good.
The one area again where we got to look at is our 9. I mean, Kiwis was solid without being spectacular. He is looking a bit like he's 34. Grant Williams was the right person to introduce in terms of tempo. But is he a starting option? I don't know so much. And I thought we got our blend of front rows right. And I mean, and with the greatest respect to Bongi and Malcolm Boks in terms of how good they are, they're not necessarily firing at their best at the moment.
No.
So this wasn't the complete Bok performance by any means. I would say this was a 7.5 out of 10 for the Boks and a 6.5 out of 10 for the All Blacks. In the context of their players, potentially a 7, but that squad doesn't have it to go to 8. We have it to still go to 8.5.
We have it to go to 10, mate. This team is proper.
No,
this team is
mate,
proper.
no, you
this
see,
team
mate,
is proper.
You go from being
No, this team is proper.
no one produces a 10.
Mate. This team can go places. If they just use their brains and they stay on plan, this team can be unstoppable. Especially in the current milieu. What does he say? The Jupadoo. You know what I mean, though? No, I think this. I mean, Victor said it after the game. This is the greatest Bok team. He literally said that. So
no, I heard him, and you know what I'll say to him, Victor, you played in the greatest Bok team, okay?
Yeah.
So out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
For me, the greatest Bok team, and I've covered them all since '92, since we came back to international rugby. The greatest Bok team is the 2009 Springboks in that year. And there was a throwover from 2007. That's the one that also primarily went to the 2011 World Cup because of the quality of opposition they were beating. That 2009 All Black team that they did 3 times, 2 in South Africa and 1 in Hamilton, New Zealand, was a far superior All Black team to the one that got beaten now. So I hate comparing eras because everything is context around opposition, strength of team.
Yep.
If they were knocking over the Richie McCaw, Dan Carter, Kieran Reid, Sonny Ball Williams, Ma Nonu, All Blacks, Brody Retallick, Sam Whitelock, Mia Lamu, Franks, those guys, if they were knocking them over, I would say greatest team. But they're not. What they're doing is what you expect of them, to beat this All Black side, okay? And the one time they went over last year to play the All Black side, they lost 35-20, a bit underdone, but the core of these players lost in New Zealand to a side we thought they couldn't lose to, okay? So I think this is a particularly special Springbok team, one of the greats. But if you talk about the greatest team, it's Victor Matfield and John Smith's 2009 Springboks, who won the Lions series, won in New Zealand, won 2 successive tests against the All Blacks, and won them emphatically. That team against this Bok team would be one hell of a game, but I'd be back in that 2009 Bok team to beat this Bok team.
But when Big Vic said that, I don't think he meant like here and now. I think he means this class of Bok, this 2024 class, is going to be the greatest Bok team ever when they finish up. I don't think he means it as in the team that played at Ellis Park on the weekend. And I think, because I don't think Vic thinks Kobus Reinach is better than Farid Dupriya. So, and I don't necessarily think Vic thinks Eben's better than Bucky's, maybe. I don't know. That'd be an interesting debate. But I think that this team has the potential to get there because they've got depth like no team had before. And in Sasha, they've got a guy who can emerge at fly half, along with Andre, who's already there, who is an all-rounder who can do everything at an elite level. So I think this Bok team has the potential to evolve into something that is on a level we haven't seen before for Springbok rugby. I'm very excited about that.
I'm not disputing that. And the only way you evolve is if all 33 play, or all 40 in your squad
100%.
play. And that's what he's done. I would love, they've postponed the team announcement from Tuesday, which they've done all the time, to Thursday. I think it's a lot of mind games. I agree with what Mill said, and I've been saying that since the end whistle on Saturday. Like, I would like to see 8 or 9 changes for Cape Town.
Get ready, mate.
Because 8 or 9 changes like they did for Perth, because Perth showed that bench is still ever present, all powerful, and that the game gets decided in the final 20 minutes. Yeah. So when it was suggested that, forget what Razor can do, because he can't really do much, that's his 23. He may go with a 6-2 split, White pick 2 winners, an extra winner on the bench, go with an extra loose forward or an extra kind of like tight forward. Is to say, what Rassie going to do, okay? And when he emerges from his sparring match with Sumo and Izzy, I think he's going to do some unpredictable things.
Definitely.
And if he should lose a test match, he's still got a 1-1 at home. He knows some things didn't work, some things did potentially work. But to be able to say that I knocked you over with 2 different teams,
Jeez.
Australia knocked you over 2 different teams, that's saying I could take any one of these teams into a World Cup playoff game and feel comfortable.
We could start scheduling 2 tests a weekend.
And think about it. No, but think about it. That's what happened to that All Black side when they went on that Grand Slam tour and they basically made 14 changes every week.
Correct.
They could have done their Grand Slam tour in 2 weeks. Okay. Now, the toughest opposition that this Bok pack currently gets is in training. So trust them to play. I think the big area for me is 9. I think we're missing Faf in a big way. I think Grant will come through. Jaden hasn't had much game time. I think Kiwis could be on the tail end. So, and Morne van der Berg is someone that they really rate.
Where's Sanelli Nohamba?
I don't think he's in the mix at all. I don't think he's ever going to be in the mix, okay? So 9 is an area that it's not like we've got 5 Aaron Smiths there, 5 de Klerks, okay? 10, very healthy. Midfield, very healthy. Our winners and fullback, very healthy, okay? Then our pack, there's not a weak area. I mean, this was proven we were down to lock number 7, Ruan Nokia, and he was like outstanding as a 5 lock, you know? And he looked the part of a Springbok. So the depth is there.
We haven't even tapped into Wilco Low. We haven't touched Frankie Horn. Cam Hanekom's still got to come through.
He's never going to tap into Wilco Low. You know that,
it's happening, mate.
He's never going to bring him in. Doesn't fit the style, and I think it's apparently he doesn't move from centre field. Okay? He can scrum, but that's about it, okay? But I thought it was just an amazing result. I was so chuffed that they got the win. Chuffed that they got the win with the players that they had. Appreciated what you were saying during the course of the game when you spoke in the preview. I'm a little bit nervous because it's a rookie 15, a rookie 10, a rookie 8 coming off the bench, a rookie 5, a few rookies there, an 8 who hasn't played for 6 weeks, and fired up All Black side that's been written off. You respect the occasion, all that kind of stuff. So all your concerns played out. Everything played out the way we said it would. It was going to be a hell of a test for 65 minutes, and then the Boks were going to come through because of the bench. Peter Steff.
Phenomenal, mate. What a player. What a player. Robot. Sent back from the future.
He's real.
I saw a cool meme the other day. It said the most popular Halloween costume in New Zealand is a picture of Peter Steff in his Bok jersey.
Did you see some of the memes of Bodie Barrett in his All Blacks jersey chatting to Peter Steff? Because they're club mates in Japan.
Yeah.
And the one caption was, one of the most loyal New Zealand fans all the way from Japan to see Peter Steff.
Gotta love it.
So look, I think there's also, what I love about these two teams is that there's a hell of a healthy regard, healthy respect between the players off the field.
Yes.
A lot of them now have played together, especially in Japan. They kind of have been teammates. We saw that video clip of Adi Xavier teaching Eben the haka at some social function. And I love that about Sia and Adi are big mates, but when they get on the field, there's no love lost, okay? But coming back to that haka and...
disgraceful.
Mate, just... we've always lacked class as South African rugby supporters, let's be honest. I mean, the Kiwis are lacking as much class in the way they're responding, but we've never been sophisticated. We've always been ole, 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 ole. I'm like, fuck, man, no. What I love about the haka, obviously knowing its meaning and kind of having a blood link to it and what it means, is when you go to a place like France, it's theatre. The public accepts what it is. It's pre-match theatre, but it's also something that's way beyond rugby. And I go back to, I think it was 2006 or 2007, the All Blacks played against Wales. And it was on that Grand Slam tour, it may have been like 2004 or whatever, but they wanted them to change when they do the haka. And it had to fit into the band playing, another anthem and this. And the All Blacks said, no, this is when they do the haka. It's just before kickoff. They said, no, that gives the Welsh team, gives them an unfair advantage over the Welsh team. And then the All Blacks just said, no, we'll do it in our change room. Because the haka means more to them than it does to the opposition. It's laying down a challenge to the opposition, but the actual doing of the haka is first and foremost about the player. And I would say to the All Black management, don't come out and do the haka in Cape Town Stadium. do it in the change room, because when they did that in Cardiff, the Cardiff crowd were baying for them to come out and do it. I've always been a lover of the haka. I thought it was a passionate, emotional one on Saturday. But this drowning it out with DJ and music, ole, 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 it's just
graceful, mate.
It's crass, it's simple, and I just don't get it.
Look, in all fairness, Rian Oberholzer has come out and apologised in a press release to New Zealand. He said he phoned the Kiwi boss and he apologised and said it was human error, couple of perfect storm.
Human error, what? A DJ of playing something else?
I mean, yeah, exactly. Now, look,
if the DJ wasn't going to do it, the plane was going to do it.
I don't have any problem with the crowd. You can't control the crowd. If the crowd wants to shout ole ole, I've got no problem with that. But you cannot have the event running music, flying a jet over and popping off fireworks during the haka, mate. That's just, it's not cricket.
No, it was poor form, but we've always been poor form at home. And our supporters have always been, because of this inferiority complex with the All Blacks, because they've pumped us so many times. I mean, this is a golden period. We've won 3 in a row. We win on Saturday. It's record breaking, okay, in the professional era. They went 8 on the trot against us. Often.
But also quite interesting what you're saying there about how the New Zealand public has responded to this defeat and how they're now going back into the game and be, oh, that looked like a bit of a knock-on over there. That sounds very much like South Africans, right? When we used to lose against the All Blacks back in the old days when we lost to the All Blacks. That's what we would do. And so now it's interesting how the shoe is on the other foot and suddenly they're not so, above it.
No, the reaction is exactly the same. I was looking at those guys in their breakdown studio. They've got 85% win records.
Yeah.
80% against the Springboks. For them to actually watch the Springbok team beat the All Blacks 3 times in a row, one a record score with Twickenham, the other one in a World Cup final, and the other one with the All Blacks were 27-17 up.
Foreign territory.
Think, what the hell? I mean, they were shocked as this All Black side is.
Rugby?
I just think that probably in the Rassie era, 2019 to 2023, is the first time we've really seen the Springboks as this rainbow team. We've seen a rainbow nation rugby audience, okay, which has been divorced of the crassness that was always associated with the boorish South African rugby supporter. There's been a great appreciation for what this team represents off the field. And it's like, grow up and enjoy the haka for what it is, or shut up, because it's not going to influence the 80 minutes that follow. I think the All Blacks are more drained at kickoff than we are watching it, So it's understand it, educate yourself, and actually show it that respect. And if you can't, my message, as I said to the New Zealanders, would be don't do it. Stick it in the change room, do it for yourselves and come out. And then maybe our public would say one day we'd like to see them do it again and actually enjoy it. Because when we came back from sporting isolation, there was a huge appreciation to see them run out in 1992 with a star-studded team, do their haka, and actually play a game that we were just happy they would play against us.
You know, there's somebody watching this right now squirting Brandewyn into a Nachi, ready to aim it at Paranara.
Yeah, but I don't think it's going to happen in Cape Town, okay? And that's the whole thing about Cape Town and Alcatraz. It's it's like they've just been to the most hostile environment with the kind of most interesting crowd that they will ever encounter in world rugby, okay? Because that's not a sporting occasion when the Boks play there. On Saturday, they're going to see Cape Town Stadium. It's a wonderful stadium. It's first world. It's world class. The vibe of the South African public at Cape Town Stadium is so different. It's a sporting event. There's not that aggression. There's not that aggro. And we don't delve in Nachis here and Brandewyn and Coke.
Mate.
We Jägermeister and Jamison, man.
Mate, I think the only reason that Nachi's not sailing at TJ Paranara is because we're at sea level and you can't get it that far.
It's going to be such a different atmosphere.
Yeah, that will be.
And there's not going to be a thing about altitude. It's at sea level, for those who don't know. So it's attitude that's going to make it happen, not altitude.
Yeah.
If you look at the Boks team, and it's only coming out on Thursday, mate.
Beautiful.
Zels, my good friend.
Yes, sir.
Oh, he of positive sway. If you were the Boks coach.
If I was the Boks coach.
Thank God you're not. Okay, but if you were the Boks coach,
right
okay, and you wanted to make changes because you want to play some mind games with the All Blacks, who would you change?
Okay, so I would, there are a couple of things that I think may happen. I don't know whether it's what I would do, but I think may happen. I think you may see Lucky Am get a recall at 12. I think you may see Kitsy come into the matchday squad, potentially start. And I think you may see potentially Fussy move to the wing and Willie comes back in place of KLA. I don't know whether they bring Kanan back in or Makazole. At 9, I'm looking forward to seeing what decision he makes there, because I've said it a couple of times, I'd like to see Grant play on the dry track. I'm not sure whether Cape Town's the best place for him. So does he go again with Kiwis, or does he do something brave there? And yeah, I don't know. I don't know if BJ makes the squad this week. Maybe Peter Steff back to 7, and he persists with Ruan and Evan.
Yeah, and then Marco comes in on the bench with Kwagga.
I think Marco might start, mate.
Mate, how good is Kwagga?
Hell of a good. Damn good.
Was it you were telling me, Ollie, you said someone said that you got to retire the 21.
What a great call.
Has there ever been a player wearing a 21 with so much influence?
Mate. Jeez. If you had to go, you could only send one player from the Milky Way to the Intergalactic Rugby Championship. Like, this guy can do everything. Whatever you need, 1 to 15, he's your man.
But no, he was just outstanding. And every season he just comes out and he's so understated.
Yeah.
He's so powerful and he's so popular. And again, this is the guy who's been playing in Japan. So this thing that you can't send your players to Japan, and our players who have come back from Japan have all slotted in very quickly and been very good. And their bodies haven't taken a pounding. I mean, Damien Delaney's probably going to add 2 years to his test career because of playing in Japan, not playing in the UK or in the URC in top 14. But Kwagga Smith just... And then having the additional presence of Marco van Staden there. I mean, I think he's a bloody good player. In the Richie McCaw, Heinrich Brousseau mold, you know? Just gets stuck in. I think the Rowan Nokia thing was huge for Rassie. That he came through allows Peter Steff to go back to 7 flank. But Peter Steff started the test at 4, then basically went to 7 and then went back to 5. It was just like brilliant, wasn't it?
I mean, again, Kwagga, but just twice the size.
But watching that kickoff as well, first kickoff, who soars in the air and takes it? Peter Steff du Toit. Box kick, who catches it? Geordie Barrett. Who gets smashed? Geordie Barrett. Thought I was watching the 2023 World Cup final.
Yeah.
The two biggest kind of presences on both sides were in the mix. Looking at that All Black side.
What do they do, mate?
So this is my view, okay, that... I think they've got great individuals in those backs.
Yep.
But I don't think they've got the right combinations. So Geordie Barrett is a great rugby player. Rico Ioni is a... Ioani,
mate.
Ioani. How do you say it?
I think it's Ioani.
Rico Ioani.
Rico.
I've been taken to task on that. Rico Ioani is a very good winner who they've tried to make a 13 and he's never going to be a test 13 against the best teams, okay? Will Jordan is a 15. Great finisher at 14. So I don't think they're getting their combinations right, and I don't think they've got their halfback combinations right yet. Their biggest thing is they've got to bring back those guys from overseas. I see Retallick and Smith have come out and said, we're ready to play if you want to pick us. Mwanga said, I'm ready to play. They keep on resisting. No, they've got to come back to New Zealand and play, and they'll be paid well. They're going to learn the hard way. We went down to 7th in the world. That day we played Wales and took a thumping 27-13 defeat in Cardiff. And Wales... on Sunday, Wales online were, will the real Springboks please come back? They couldn't even enjoy thumping a team that was ranked 7th in the world. And New Zealand, if they don't bring back those players, will consistently be 3 or 4 in the world. They won't be 1 or 2. Because they're not going to beat us or Ireland consistently, and they'll struggle away from home against France and England.
But what do they need their players to be playing at home for? Because they can beat the Brumbies with Steve Hansen.
Well, their biggest thing is if the player leaves, everyone's going to leave. But not everyone leaves.
But even if everyone leaves, what's the consequence? You're still going to beat the Brumbies and the Reds and the whoever's left in Australian rugby.
The whole thing was, I think there's 300 South African rugby players that play overseas, okay?
300,000, mate.
Yeah, or the stay and watch, but 300 play overseas. When Rassie first came into the mix, his thing was the domestic guy gets choice first. If it's a 50-50 caller, he picks the guy who's playing in South Africa. That's one of the big things about Sia coming back. He's like, he wants his captain to be in South Africa. Sia quickly left Paris after that. And it's like there was initially 20 of the 30 were overseas-based players. Then there's 10, and 10 have come back. So, and those who have come back have added value, and our conveyor belt is coming through. So when you look at the All Blacks who have left, you're looking at 4 or 5 that would walk into this match 23. That's all they need. That was the difference with the Springboks. When those 4 or 5 big-name players came back in, we were a different side.
And I think, SA Rugby deserves massive credit because for a very long time, we must have been the most reactive defensive organisation in the history of pro sport. The last to come out with ideas that have been tried and tested by others. The way we have maneuvered to get ourselves out of Super Rugby and into the Northern Hemisphere, into the URC, the way we have rolled the dice on letting our players play overseas and for the Boks, and now we are reaping the benefits. And now you've got New Zealand who are slow to the party. They are slow to working out that actually having your best players, all of them, playing in great clubs and great competitions overseas, there's a net gain for that, even though they're not in country, because the next guys up that play for the Highlanders are getting game time they wouldn't otherwise get. And suddenly your player base goes from being 10 guys or one Brodie Retallick to 4 potential locks that can play for you, because you've got this expanded player base that's in action every week. So it's great to see SA Rugby leading the way. We still pick Boks. We don't have teams full of foreigners. All these oaks are South Africans. Our teams are successful in the URC. The Boks are 2-time back-to-back world champions. It's kudos. The leadership has done a fantastic job of putting us in this position.
But also, Rassie was very clear when he came back that I'm not taking this job if I can't pick the best players from South Africa to play in a test match. Because the concept of a test match is the best of your country plays the best of another country, not the best within your country. So imagine Argentina and Brazil going to World Cups with only local-based players in soccer. I mean, it just wouldn't happen. They wouldn't get out of the pool stages. So we also need to accept and understand, I mean, we do in South Africa, the professional game has evolved, the world has moved on, okay? New Zealand, incredibly, has fallen so far behind on so many different levels.
Wild.
That they were really leading the way in every aspect of professionalism. And everyone else was trying to play catch-up. But this very insular kind of approach and attitude that you've got to be in New Zealand to play for the All Blacks, that the All Black jersey means so much, it means more than feeding your family for the next 20 years.
Yeah.
That someone's going to stay, potentially play one test and not go to Toulouse, become an icon. I mean, Jerome Kino, when he left, they could still be picking him. For 3 years that he was playing over there, he's winning Europe's biggest titles.
Yeah.
I can tell you now, Ma Nonu at 41, you could pick now. He would still be a danger in that midfield. So,
but the economics have proven that it's a model that doesn't work, because the players still go overseas. So the people that get the check, the price tag, is the national union, because you don't have your best players, and now you've got to stick by your policy of not picking them.
But just go back to that test match, and we spoke about it earlier. Eben Etzebeth comes running on, and Brodie Retallick comes running on for them off the bench. Well, you got it. There's your neutralizer. Okay. It's Richie Mohanga sits on the bench like Andre Pollard does. He's coming in to close it out for 20 minutes to go. Now, there's this belief in New Zealand that, these youngsters must go through it to know. But if a youngster's not good enough, he can go through it. He's not going to last. He's not going to be around at the end of your tour.
Exactly, mate.
And I still don't get that when you have these quality class players who are quitting international rugby because outdated dynamics within your New Zealand rugby union or your Australian rugby union mean that you don't pick your best players. You've got to go locally first. They're going to take a beating if they continue like that. They will not be number one in the world, and they certainly won't be winning World Cups consistently or dominating like they used to.
Yeah.
And we are the innovators now. South Africa's the innovators.
Exactly.
And it irks so many because we were always the big, strong, and dumb water buffalo.
Correct.
And now we're still like water buffalo, but we got a little bit of intelligence. And actually, we got a lot more intelligence than they
a buffalo with Bluetooth
think that we know. And I also love the way Rassie's playing his mind games. He's having the time of his life. He has evolved this team in terms of selection so much within 7 test matches that you're looking, and it's a very different side to the one that went to the World Cup.
Yeah.
And he's also been pragmatic. This is why I go back to Reiner. He's been pragmatic in still keeping some oldies around. But he feels he still doesn't quite have the obvious successor, or he's not convinced.
You spoke about innovation there. One of the things that Rassie innovated, obviously, is the bomb squad, and I think that's the way that the All Blacks need to go this week. They need to take some chances. The only way they win in Cape Town is if they've got 7 forwards on the bench, and somehow, amongst that group of 15 forwards, they find a way to outmuscle the Boks like Ireland did in the second test.
But they don't have 7 forwards, so their best is to go 6-2. They have to go a 6-2 split, and then we'll pick 5-2 with 5-3 with 5 backs. And Rassie will be on the lights going ballistic there. Tell me a bit about Razor. He looks like he's aged about 20 years in the last 2 months.
The wrinkles are coming through, mate. He needs to go for a surf.
Is it true that there was a bloke in the Greater Waikato flipping some burgers early hours of the morning, thinking it's not that easy, is it, mate?
Exactly, mate. Fozzie must be having a bit of a chuckle.
Joe Smith must,
as is Eddie.
Yeah, Eddie must be having the biggest laugh. Okay, but I mean, they seem to have a lot more clarity with no Leo McDonald there, just in terms of the way the guys approach the game. But is it a case of at the moment he just doesn't quite have the 23 capable of coming to South Africa and winning?
Yeah, he doesn't have the players, and I think some of his decisions are questionable. His investment in Damien McKenzie is surprising to me. Barrett is far and away their best playmaker there, their best decision maker. Every time he touches the ball, there's a good result. How you wouldn't have that guy on the ball all the time is surprising to me. I don't know if it's about getting Bowden entrenched as the fullback because Richie's coming back. I don't know what the thinking is there, but for me, Bowden and Will Jordan makes all of the sense in the world. I've spoken about bringing Caleb in to be more physical, but bottom line, they could have Christian Cullen and Tana Umaga in that back line and they wouldn't win because they need cattle up front. They need forwards that can go forward. They need power. They need hammers there. Wallace Satiti, mate. They need some of those physical blokes to come back in and give them some punch.
Well, you talk about that backline. I think of the Hurricanes in the early Super Rugby days where Big Jonah, Jerry Collins up front, Big Jonah, Christian Cullen, Tana Umaga formed part of their backs, but they invariably lost in South Africa because their pack just got smashed.
Yes.
And Jerry Collins was always fighting this lone battle up front. Okay?
Mark Hammett, mate.
Yeah, Mark Hammett was coaching. He played for the Crusaders. Yeah. He was coaching the Hurricanes at one stage. But Cape Town's going to be very different to Ellis Park. They've now had a go at each other, which is great, the two teams. One score separated them. I did have visions because I put a little flutter down on eBets on a draw, and it was 24-1. And at 31-27, I'll go Sasha kick it 34-27. And then the business person in me said, if they come back and score converted tries, 34, which is consistent with 31, which is the historic score there.
Correct.
My cash is times 24. But then the Patriot in me kicked in, and I was actually relieved that he missed because we had 2 minutes to play and we got the ball back again. I meant we could keep that ball for 2 minutes, which we did, basically dictating things, and eventually kicked it out. A great win for the Boks. I know, Zels, I've convinced you that it was a great win.
It was a great win for the players. Superb.
For the players.
Superb.
So
lots of ticker, mate. They got a gut check and they passed with flying colours.
And what rating do you give the coaches?
Oh, D-, mate. D-, what's that? 5.
I don't agree with you there because the coaches are the ones that are creating the environment for the players.
They're getting a 5, mate. Stamped.
So when the players knock on every ball, is it the coach's fault?
No. It's not one of those situations. But I think...
what is it, mate?
I think, matey, I've sort of stated my case on this one. I just think that unnecessary tactical experimentation put us in that situation. They did very well to dig themselves out of the hole that they created for themselves. And I hope that they've learned their lesson. I think this week they'll come out and play Bok Rugby direct because they're in Cape Town. I think it's going to be a replica of the Island Series, like I've said before. If nothing else, I think Rassie's teaching these guys why you don't play expensive rugby. This is a great 101 lesson in why we play Bok Rugby.
But now, you talk about, you loved how they came on in the second test against Ireland, but we lost.
Sure, we lost. No, we lost that game. We did lose that test, though, playing to a drop goal, so...
Did we play Tony ball in the last 5 minutes of that test match?
No, mate. There were some wide strike moves, but for the most part, we were much more direct in that second test.
But unfortunately, so were Ireland.
Correct, mate. They rolled up their sleeves. We came out a bit soft.
The big thing, the Boks have spoken about mentality, feet on the ground. They said all the right things. They are 1-0 up. They know they can't lose this series. They're 14 points up. They play Argentina twice. You back them to win both those test matches. How important for this team, regardless of who he picks, to go out and back it up with a second win against the All Blacks?
Jeez, mate. We won 4 in a row against the All Blacks. That's only been done once before. They did it in 1949. To do that in the modern era, knowing what we know about the sort of tradition and history of this rivalry, and doing it while experimenting with players and tactics and would be an incredible achievement. I mean, this Bok, that's why I say this Bok team is tracking to reach unprecedented heights.
And that 49 series, we also got to give it context, is I think the All Blacks lost to the then Rhodesia twice as well. Only nation to have a 2-0 against them.
Okay.
And they played against the Boks in a test match because some of the Maori players obviously were not allowed to come to South Africa. They arranged a test match for the All Blacks to play against the Wallabies on the same Saturday, and they lost that one as well. Only time in New Zealand's history they've lost 2 All Black tests on the same day.
No way!
Yeah, mate. It's a little bit of history.
Incredible
for you,
history, mate.
I
hope it's all true.
Go to Zels, it's been wonderful. They are in Cape Town. It's our home city. Spectacular weather to start the week off with. It's going to get a bit cold as the week kind of goes on, but it's going to get a lot more intense. It's the Boks against the All Blacks. Are you looking forward to Rassie's games? Are you looking forward to Rassie's social media?
I think he's postponed that press conference because he wants to get a Jabba the Hutt suit for the press conference.
What do you make of his comment to Sumo?
Oh, man, I love how he's ripping Sumo there. Mate, you look great.
Is he saying Sumo's lost a bit of weight?
Mate, that guy's lost a sumo.
And what tough times did Izzy go through?
I have no idea, mate, but I'd love to know.
Was he a few beers in? Rassie's going to keep us entertained this week. The Boks are going to keep us entertained. It's a sellout. It's a sellout for the Cape Town Stadium. However, you can still get a ticket to the test match if you purchase a Stormers season ticket. And we are so Stormers biased here because we live in Cape Town. We love the Stormers. We love Dobbo. We went and purchased 2 season tickets for the Stormers, and we got 2 test match tickets.
What time are you picking me up, mate?
Not at a small price, 2,500 Rand each, but only the best for you guys. And on Thursday, we will announce the winner on the Keo Zels show of those tickets, okay? I hope you're not based in London.
It's going to be a bit of a scramble.
We'll be your proxy, okay? And we're also going to give away $1,000. Hope you're not based in London. For what we think is the coolest comment from today's show. And then we'll chat again on Thursday about both teams, and we get ready for that countdown to the Boks against the All Blacks. 108th test. First time ever at the Cape Town Stadium in Cape Town.